Bizarre Brain Comics. Hello, my comic book friends, and welcome to Bizarre Brain Comics. I am Gary, your host. This is where I like to take a look at some older comics, talk a little bit about the characters and creators, and then examine the stories and the art. This time, I want to take a look at this book here. This is Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes, number 232 from 1977. This has a thrilling cover drawn by Mike Grell. And Mike Grell had previously been the interior artist for this title for a while. I think that was when it was under the title of Adventure Comics, featuring Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes. And at some point they changed the title just to Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes. And then eventually it changed back to Adventure Comics to feature other characters. And as I said, this is from 1977, so this is still several years away from the Crisis on Infinite Earths, which rebooted the entire universe and got rid of Superboy altogether. And I kind of like that idea. I was never thrilled with the idea of Superboy being a member of the Legion of Superheroes, pretty much full time like he is here. Even in this story, he's barely there. I think the only time Superboy should have been with the Legion of Superheroes was once in a great while. Just every once in a great while. And then for special reasons. Oh. And Superboy is from the very beginning has been an integral part of the Legion of Superheroes, which the Legion was created by Otto Binder and artist Al Plastino, and they first appeared in Adventure Comics 247. So this must have been a carryover from the Legion of Superheroes title, not Adventure. It's from 1958 when they first appeared. They were in Adventure Comics as a backup, and eventually got their own title. So that must be a continuation here. I prefer the Legion as the Legion without Superboy. That's my personal preference. This was kind of a combination of the Superboy title and the Legion title. Even though I always enjoyed the Superboy stories, I never liked the idea of having Superman start his antics as a teenager. And at this point or so, he was about he started at about what was it, 14, 15, something like that. And but what I did like was several years ago when they had the a short-lived animated series. I think it was 2 seasons, but I don't ever see much about it. And I think an even shorter-lived tie-in comic book was Superman and the Legion of Superheroes, in which the Legion, who were inspired to form from the legend of Superboy and later including Supergirl in that, inspired to unite together to create the Legion, and in which they travels back in time and picked up Clark Kent as he was leaving home at about 18 or 19 years old, or what have you, and returning to the 30th, might even have been then the 31st century, because of course the Legion was in the 30th century, and now they're in the 31st century, because they're always 1,000 years ahead of us, taking him back, giving him this, or he acquires the Superman costume, and they spend several months training him to be a superhero over the course of the life of that series, and then he's plucked back, taken back in time to just after they picked him up, so that no time had passed on Earth, or virtually no time had passed on Earth while he was absent. And then he made his debut as Superman, which is kind of different from the John Byrne Superman reboot from 85, 86. But I like the John Byrne version without a Superboy. His powers, as he was a teenager, his powers started to manifest, and that's the way I think he should be. But he did that, and then of course they got rid of Superboy and eventually brought him back, but not as a young Clark Kent, except in the tie-in to the Superboy TV series, which I did enjoy. But even there, he should have been Superman. He was an adult in his about late teens, early 20s. He was a man, and but it was they had the rights to Superboy, not Superman. So, and this issue was, this is 232 from 1977. It was written by Gerry Conway and drawn by RIC Estrada and inked by Jack Abel, all of whom I've talked about before. Of course, Gerry Conway, he wrote all kinds of stuff. I especially liked his stuff for Marvel's Conan the Barbarian and Savage Sword. But he wrote for all kinds of stuff. Of course, his Barbarian stuff wasn't as good as Roy Thomas necessarily, but he had his moments. It was pretty good under him. And then RIC Estrada, I know him best as an inker, but he was also a quite capable penciler too. And when I covered the Powers of Isis tie-in comic book, he had penciled that, and then inked by Jack Abel, who this period was, I don't think he was doing any penciling that I have seen. He was doing a lot of inking, but that was all through the 70s and into the 80s. And when I covered Western not too long ago, he had inked that Western. But I know him best from the 50s and 60s Westerns, primarily Kid Colt, that he penciled and inked, as well as a lot of the hot rod stuff for Charlton. So, let's go take a little look in the pages of Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes. But first, let's try a little business. I'm doing these 5 by 8 inch character cards. All of these that you see here are available if you would like to order one or do a special commission just for you of the characters that you like, comic books, comic strips, cartoons, Star Wars, Star Trek, etc. For a very reasonable price. Make good gifts. And remember, it is an original and unique piece of artwork just for you or your recipient. And if you are interested, contact me in the comments below, leaving your email address, or contact me here at my email address, as you see there. Okay, Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes. And we start off with, they're dancing, 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 dancing. She's a dancing machine. They're on a cruise ship, way out in space, and there's dancing as part of a week-long festival known as the Chlordney Festival. And they're on the Glory of Ganymede. And said, the disease that wouldn't die. They're talking, because Superboy doesn't, so they're telling Superboy about the festival, because it's something he's completely unfamiliar with. And then this goofy bully comes up and starts harassing Shrinking Violet, because at this time, Shrinking Violet's homeworld, they're having some political problems. They're thinking of leaving the United Planets organization, and so this guy's calling them a traitor, etc. And Superboy is not happy with that, and starts to waylay the bully, when suddenly the whole ship is waylaid. They're being attacked by space pirates. Oh my gosh. And there is Saturn Girl, their telepathy. Says, the pirates are to the port side, Legionnaires. I can sense their presence telepathically. Yeah, we know. And they leap into action. He said, you stay here. And there the pirates. They've breached the hull. So they use that hull breach. Boom. Superboy. And the pirates are about to enter the ship. They had they didn't know their bad luck that they had Legionnaires on board. And Superboy is zipping around out through space in this fun, action-filled page, and he starts knocking out all the pirates. I want to take a moment here to show you the design in this image. If you, because comic books pages are usually designed to move your eye around the page, and then this one is a very nice design. You see the dialogue and sound effects and the ray beam all from here, coming over here to this pirate figure face and his dialogue, which takes you into this panel with more dialogue and presents Superboy as he starts zipping through, and they're all surprised, and his position and breaking through the panel borders brings you right over here, and then right where the caption is described, and the way all these figures are lined up draws your eye right over here, which takes you right into the caption down here, which takes you out of the page to the next page. And some nice design work there. And they're repairing the hull breach. Zap, zap, zap. And but have some equipment malfunction. And some nice figures here, both Shrinking Violet, and Saturn Girl. And most of the figures are very well done here. There are a few off figures in the book, but for the most part they're nice like this. Shrinking Violet, she shrinks down because that's the power of her people. Goes into the machine, makes the repairs so that they can restore pressure. And Superboy has captured all the pirates. They're put in the brig. Then something is going on elsewhere. We change scenes to this character who I later find out is Regulus, a longtime villain of the Legion. And he's got this other new character here being introduced, as he is being sent to infiltrate the Legion base at home on Earth. And we find out about him in a little bit. Zoop! He's beamed down into the Legion clubhouse, and then our scene changes again to a space station from the Space Patrol out beyond the orbit of Pluto, in which a couple of the Legionnaires, Cosmic Boy and Colossal Boy, are there. They're part of celebration there for the same festival, and they're visiting Colossal Boy's brother, who is in the patrol. And while they're there, just happen to be there, get an alarm signal, something's going on. We see what's this kind of cloud or fog approaching, and it approaches and it penetrates right through the hull of their space station. And then what happened? What's going on? And then they begin to shrink. Everyone begins to shrink. So, this isn't right. If this keeps up, we could shrink down to nothing. Then they contact the Legionnaires on the cruise ship and apprise them of the situation. And so, because of that, the bully verbally attacks Shrinking Violet once again, and Superboy takes care of him. They commandeer the pirate ship and head out there. Meanwhile, back at Legion headquarters, where this mysterious person has infiltrated, he's snooping around in the dark, but it's Shadowglass, who can see in the dark, spots him and confronts him, but he tries to take her out, but does not incapacitate her. She sounds the alarm, and then he attacks the others. No matter what they do, they can't, using their powers, they can't incapacitate him, can't bring him down, as he attacks the Legionnaires throughout the building, and then he is beamed away. So what's going on? Then on the space station, we see everyone is shrinking, because you've got these nice overly sized figures, and then everyone else is itty bitty and getting itty bittier. And Shrinking Violet is not happy about this, because she's thinking everyone is blaming her and her people for this. They're apprised of the situation, and the command of the Space Patrol tells them to go to Imra's planet and inquire. So she takes affront to that, thinking they're blaming him rather than it just being an investigation. And meanwhile, we see the backstory. Not the backstory. This is as that fog approaches Saturn, and Saturn Girl's people are on one of the moons of Saturn, and the fog affects them. Zap, 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 and it all affects them, and they're telepathic. And she gets a telepathic message. She claps. Real nice figure for there. And and now they're concerned for the entire solar system. Meanwhile, Shrinking Violet is getting angrier. So the Legionnaires are heading out to where the teleportation beam took that villain, and then they just are fighting off, because this is the private planetoid of what's his name? Brand. I've forgotten his name. The man who is the billionaire who finances the Legion of Superheroes. And he's got his own defenses, he's got his own planetoid, and they're having to fight off his defenses. And there's a nice action-packed scene of Mon-El whacking this guy. But even his punches have very little effect. It's only momentary on this fellow. And he gives his backstory as he monologues. He's from a planet in which Brand supposedly and some others were testing weapons, testing something, and this weapon caused this fog thing, or caused something to happen on the planet, which killed everyone but him, but in the process made him totally immune to anything and everything. You can smack him, you can kill him, whatever, but it doesn't kill him. His body, he's instantly repaired. So they all assault him at once to no avail. Meanwhile, the Legionnaires are on the station, are attacked, zap zap, and captured by Regulus, the villain. And Superboy is exposed, and that's a nice Superboy figure there. He's exposed to red sun radiation, which robs him of his powers, and then everyone is captured and put in a trap that will neutralizes their respective powers. Meanwhile, this guy who they're calling the Immune is just plowing into the Legion, but Brainiac is holding back. He's using his brain. It's a real nice portrait of Brainiac 5. And he's coming up with a plan. Meanwhile, Regulus here is coming there to get Brand, or to get the Legion. And it mentioned that he had already incapacitated Sunboy when the other Legionnaires got to his ship. Well, he's suddenly awake and heating things up, and Regulus is really concerned about that, because that throws a wrinkle in his plans. And he says that it was from Saturn Girl was able to jolt him back to consciousness. So he's laying right into Regulus as they fight. Very action-packed, very dynamic. But Sunboy lays Regulus low, frees the other heroes. Then we find out that the girls had switched places, disguised as each other. This was to protect Shrinking Violet from anyone else, and her own people, if necessary, if they were indeed behind this incident, which they weren't. They give no clue on where they got the wigs, though. Meanwhile, still fighting the Immune, and here they show, because of his backstory, he's immune to everything. His body counteracts every threat. So here we see that, oh, your body isn't working for you. You're not immune to the shrinking disease. It shows how he is shrinking, and then he's going mad. Come on, protect me, and then zoom, he is waylaid. laid low by his own immune system, because it turns out that was Colossal Boy taking the place of Brainiac 5, and he had to make himself incredibly big, because remember, he's shrinking, but he shrinks back down to normal size, but it has exhausted him. What they did is make this guy think that he was shrinking and caused madness, so his own immune system shut down his brain, because his mind was the threat to his body. And here they've saved Brand, and we find out that the whole story was fake. He was not involved in that experiment which killed everyone. He was being framed. It was just for this guy to to attack them all. And meanwhile, everyone is restored using the blood of the immune for a vaccine. So everyone is restored. But Shrinking Violet is not happy, and that's not the end of the story. Very, very nice close-up there of her, and a very lovely figure of her, and he did a good job with cramming all these characters into that one long panel. So, and that is the end of this issue, but that's not the end of the story. At least the subplot of Shrinking Violet and her people. And that's it, Legion Outpost. And that's what we've got this time for Legion, Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes. Thank you for joining me. Please like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment. And remember, comics are art.